Hello and welcome to another episode of Behind the Lava Lava. I am your host this evening. My name is Johnny Suolvai, and I am joined by our president and founder, Michael Tan, Spencer Mingi, Ati Mingi, and Milford Tiafala. So before we get to everything that we're going to get to tonight, we're going to be give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Matai Watches. Trying to get the word out, get yourself a piece of your culture, a timeless piece of your culture. And we all see it's starting to grow. So make sure you hop on that ship before it sails away. For now, we were talking about a few topics we wanted to talk about this evening, but the main one we're going to focus on and we're going to start on tonight is the fact that we got Father's Day coming up. And a bunch of us are fathers, and we all know that it's the most, if not the most very important holiday representing the best people in the world, the fathers out there. So I'd like to give out to the boys real quick. First of all, for all of you, father or not, for Father's Day, what would you, if you had to hypothetically throw it out there, what would you want for Father's Day? Because I know what I would want, I know TaylorMade came out with some new clubs, and wouldn't mind one of those, and that stealth looks pretty good too. But, that's an example,
I'm in the same boat with you, Johnny. Man, I want new PXGs, man. The new PXGs just came out. I'm a PXG guy.
Oh, you're a PXG guy?
I'm a PXG guy, expensive. Man. You got to represent the veterans, man. It's a veteran guy that owns PXG, so this is not a plug-in for PXG, but, hey, support your veterans. So, But, that's one of the things I want. That's the want. Something that I need in my life. I think this year is my first year being a father. So thank God for, my life and the opportunity for me to be here. But honestly, I just want my daughter and my lady, call it a day. That's the important thing, Every time I see my daughter, man, it just warms my heart, man. It just melts my heart. And I don't know if I could want anything else in his life. Every time I see her, it's just, man, I'm falling all over again. I see a little piece of me in there, a little piece of my lady. And that's all. That's the happiness that I have right now. But damn, man, if I had some money, it's that PXG, brother. The money is all going to the diapers,
So for me, it's very difficult because I don't want anything that's material. But what I do want is hopefully my wife isn't tuning in, but for Friday to be undisturbed when me and T and Johnny go watch the Two Moore show Friday night. That would be my Father's Day gift.
Hey, I second. I agree to that one too. That sounds like an amazing peace and quiet. Maybe I can show up at the house at 9 a.m. and we can do that mukbang before we head out.
That sounds like a very good idea. We should do a mukbang before we head out to our comedy show. Tumua show in Salt Lake City, Friday night.
Man, so I don't want anything. Because for me it's a bit not weird, but I just don't expect anything because I know, I'm still working on myself every day as a father. And, of course, it's those days of gratitude, but for me, it's every day. I don't know, same thing with Mother's Day. And, I'll put the mothers on a pedestal. I don't look at one above the other like a lot of people do with comparisons. We joke and we're joking. That's cool. But I'm talking about like the other people are so serious. Like, oh, look at me here. I'm more important than this. I know there's more that I could do. So I don't really want anything. I'll appreciate, donations. Go ahead and kick them my way. But I don't really expect or want anything. And just be better, as a dad.
And if I were a dad, I'd just want like some of that macaroni art, some doodles and scribbles and stuff just to remind me I got kids, something that's special to me alone. And they wanted to top something off, like, let's all just go out for dinner. I don't even care if I'm the one paying. I just want to have meals with my family one of these days. So, like for me, that's how I'd envision a nice Father's Day.
Dang, dude, y'all just gonna make me look like the bad guy. Me and Ati holding it down. Now, for the all right. Most of the time, I joke around. My mom, I want this, 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 and this, and this, but I don't expect nothing. You know, I constantly, and then even then, like my wife and kids like to try to do surprises, but they know I absolutely hate surprises. I'm not a big fan of surprises, especially if it's something that we don't necessarily need right now, or I don't necessarily need, that we could have saved for something else. But you know, it's majority of the time, all I wanted is just food, relaxation, maybe a foot rub. Maybe one of the kids come step on my back, and we hang out. But and maybe I can sleep in. I'm a big fan of head rubs, you know, because life is tiring. But for the most part, you know, a good facade, because sometimes for my kids, the act of giving me something and watching me say, I love it, which I really do if it's from them. And yeah, you know, Spencer is the same thing. At first you want all the material stuff, but then as you get older, the macaroni art tends to mean a lot more. That the meme with the Christmas tree. You wish to have the fancy looking, presentable, picture worthy Christmas tree. And then as you get older, then you miss the messed up Christmas tree with the first grade ornaments made in class out of paper and cardboard. Those things start to matter more. Me and my wife keep all the kids' ornaments they make. And those things tend to be huge for us now. So, I mean, usually just the act of my wife and kids doing something for me is enough. It makes them feel good.
Hey, actually, let me amend mine real quick, because like I just realized, dude, if I got kids, I want to cash in real quick too. So, UFC 290's coming up. You know, Justin Gaethje, Justin Poirier on that card. If you want, you know, or is that 190, 291, whatever it is, give me a UFC pay-per-view. There we go. It's like that's my Father's Day gift. All right.
So I'm gonna read one of the comments of our audience tonight. It's from Ofa Fadiliu. Men always say they don't want anything, but you give them a gift and you watch them turn into Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, it depends on the gift, you know. I mean, if my kids come up
Willy
and
Wonka
give me
movie
something,
we talking about though?
Are we talking Johnny Depp or are we talking about the other one?
We talking
The good one.
Michael Jackson looking Johnny Depp? Or?
No, I mean, yeah. I mean, if my kids gave me something they made in class, and then it's like, oh, you give them the response they want. And then my wife gives me that brand new tailor-made Stealth, and then I'm just like, what? You know, but it's the reaction. Because you saw that charge on the credit card like days before. So.
We talking all this stuff about, you know, what we would like. Do y'all have any memorable gifts you gifted your father on Father's Day? Or if somebody's father wasn't in the picture, you know, your father figure in your life?
Ha! That's a good one. I remember my siblings had gotten together, and this is like adult me. Now, you know, we kind of like had our own money, make our own money and stuff like that. And I left home at 19, joined the Marine Corps, kind of disappeared, did my own thing for years. And I happened to be home for Father's Day, and my siblings had gotten together and got him these brand new spiffy looking Ray-Bans. And my dad's excited. He loves Ray-Bans. And I showed up and I was like, I forgot it's Father's Day. I need to get my dad something. And I bought him a filing cabinet. I went to Walmart and that was the first thing I saw. And at first I felt like this filing cabinet was absolute nothing. But then after a while I was like, my dad told me, he was like, I needed this. How did you know? And I was like, well, I mean, I saw that you might have needed one, but you need a lot of things. You also needed a paper shredder because you're constantly just piling mail up. You also needed this, and that. But I think because of the act that I gave him something, he gave me a response worthy of how much it meant to him. And to me, it felt good. But at the same time, like I wanted to be more thoughtful, more. And sometimes, like most of the years, I always fell short. So that one I'll never forget. And I think the following year, I got him a paper shredder.
I don't remember what I've gifted my dad in the past, but there's a core memory that stood out to me when I graduated from boot camp. And after MCT and A school, I went back home. And before leaving, I remember sitting in the airport next to my dad. I handed him my, you know how those Marine Corps rings that you get like a memento when you graduate boot camp? So it's one of those rings that I gave him, and I told him to hold on to it. Because I'll basically like hold on to it. I'll be back. It was mostly a gift to him of something that I've accomplished that I was very proud of. And that's a memory that always stood out to me. You know, me giving him something that to me in my life was a huge milestone, graduating and becoming a Marine. So now that my dad is here with us, I still don't know what to give him for Father's Day. Like, what would my dad want for Father's Day? Because we bought him clothes, shoes, and things that he needs, but what something that he would want? Because there's a difference between a need and a want, right? So,
Man, I would say
that's my situation.
Get him a walk, but he went and bought his own apparently. So
yeah. I need to buy him a better walk so that he can take it home. You know, because if he leaves it here, it won't be used. And yeah, that's my situation right now. I don't know what to get my dad for Father's Day.
You know what rhymes with walk? Matai watch.
Tell me about my Thai watch, Johnny.
I think your dad would love and would look great in a Matai watch. It would look great on his wrist, that's for sure. And you know, them old fogies love the shinies, the wrist bling. So, I mean, I think it would be great for him to get a Matai watch because look at this thing. I mean, I know I got a great arm, but this thing is just flashing and making the whole thing appeal just go. So, Matai watches out there. It's growing. It's a trend. Hop on it.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, we have a deal going on where we're selling the watches for $160, but I'm feeling very generous. I'm gonna drop it to $150 tonight. For the rest of the week, Matai watches the men's edition, the Genesis, and the Royal will be $150. Buy it and get it before Father's Day.
Speaking of Matai watches, before Matai watches, I think, and I don't want to talk about it, but I got my dad a diesel gold watch, and that was my first ever physical thing that I bought for my dad for not only his birthday and Father's Day. I think that was kind of like a memento to cover up all the stuff, all the missed Father's Day presents. So I got that for him. And I mean, sadly to say, I don't know who the Ulavale is in our village, but somebody broke into the house and stole that watch. So anybody in my village, if you're listening to this, if I catch you, you know what's going to happen. But besides that, my best that takes it, this is the icing on the cake for a present for my dad, was having him rest on his Father's Day weekend. And this was, I think, where me and my brother, we were 12 or 11 years old back then. So everybody knows back in American Samoa on Sunday, you got to prepare the umu, for Sunday. So every Sunday, the whole year, My dad is, he's there with us preparing the umu and, on Saturday, and then do the umu in the morning. And we would have to wake up at 4, just to get the firework. Because the rule is, in Samoa, in our village at least, if daylight comes and, there's smoke in the village, then your house or your family will get fined by the village council. So that's what it was. Every Sunday we'll wake up early, do the umu, have the umu ready and done before that sunlight comes out. So on this particular Sunday, we were about 11 or 12 years old. Me and my brother told our father, "Hey man, you don't have to do the umu with us this weekend. We're going to prep it." So we prepped it by ourselves. 11, 12. We got went up to the mountain, got the coconuts. We got the breadfruit and, prepped everything for Sunday morning umu. And, usually our dad is the one that wakes us up, because he's usually up at like around 3:30 and then wakes us up. But we made it a thing where we weren't going to sleep, because if we were going to sleep, we weren't going to wake up. So we would wake up. We were stayed up the whole night playing Call of Duty, and I think Madden 4.3 came out back in 2013 or 2003. So we got up early, and not I say got up early, but we woke up the whole night, and then we did the whole umu by ourselves, and that was the first time ever that we done the umu by ourselves. And since then it became tradition. Like every Sunday on Father's Day, he take a rest and won't have to do the umu with us. But unfortunately, we came out and we were here in the States, so he's doing it, by himself back home. And, my little brother's back there. So I don't know if my little brother's carrying on, but, that's one of those good memories and, a gift that we gave our dad every Father's Day. And I think any gift after, it's just kind of like an icing on the cake. But that was, at least a memory that I could just still cherish till this day. So appreciate it for the question, brother.
What do you think is an appropriate budget for a Father's Day gift?
Well, I mean, look, like, depends on the age of the person gifting stuff to their dad, right? Like, when I was a kid, I didn't have any money. It was whatever I could bum off of my grandma or something like that. But, it was kind of a running joke in my family, because if you know my dad, you know him as either the science guy, because in 29 Palms, he was the junior high science teacher. So, like, basically all his kids, their friends, and all our cousins at one point had his science class. So that you knew him as the science guy, as a teacher, or you knew him as a fisherman. If you knew him as one of two things, it's those two. And so every Father's Day, we got him the same stuff every year. It was either fishing gear, which my dad had no shortage of, but we'd buy him hooks and power bait and spinners and stuff, or we'd get him ties that he could wear to when he taught his classes. Typically the ties were fishing themed, so he just had like racks full of ties that people were just giving him over Father's Day and birthdays and stuff like that. So that was that was our price range. But and nowadays I try to get him something that can, I don't know. Like, so for example, I brought up the UFC thing. That's actually what I got my dad in recent years. Every time, because I like watching MMA. I like watching it with my dad, because growing up, I never really had I was never into sports. My dad would always have a game on, whether it be basketball, football, baseball. My dad's just, watching sports to kill time. And I just never really shared that interest with him. And so when I started getting into MMA as an adult, I started pitching that to him, and he's gotten really into it. My dad follows it as close as I do now. What I love about it is it's just an activity that me and my dad, my brother, the whole family can get in, and we share this moment with each other, and it's given us like a common thing. And it's also an ongoing subject that we're calling each other on the phone. I'm telling him, hey, there's a card on tonight. Hey, there's this person's doing that. Or he'll be like, who do you think would win between this and that? It's been just a fun activity that we can have in common. And so in recent years, I'll typically try to see if there's a pay-per-view card happening. So even though if it was just me, I'd be probably streaming that thing somewhere else. But I want my dad to see it, and so I'm buying the pay-per-view so he can tune in and get on that. And he really enjoys that sport now. So that's kind of my price range. UFC pay-per-views are about $80 nowadays.
You know what the true price point is? The value of Mother's Day should be equal to the values for Father's Day. But guess what? The world we live in, that's not going to
You're
happen.
not lying, man. I was about to say
So
the cost of a Matai
that's
watch.
what it should be. Yeah.
Which I'm gonna get my dad. So.
This is why I don't want to hear about no pay gap, because we know who's cashing in on their days.
We might get some flack on this, but it's true.
From on my household, it's pretty even. She gets about the same as I get. So I mean, there's equality in places with fair business dealings among the sexes, But
I got a question for you guys. All right, I want you guys to do something.
what's up?
Ask yourself, if I were to die tonight, would my family struggle to pay next month's bills? Not to mention every month after that. If you answered yes to that question, then life insurance is your best way to help your family be prepared. None of us know when we're going to go back home, and we've all known more than one person that was very young and healthy, yet still passed away unexpectedly. Now, the younger you are, the chances are smaller that you pass away before your parents. But are you willing to take that chance with your family's life? If not, then the next thing you need to figure out is how do you get the most life insurance possible for the smallest amount of money. Most agents are captive agents selling only to their captive agency's options, which are always the most expensive. You need an independent agent like Ray Keller, who started Independent Island Life Insurance Agency specifically to help everyone get the most affordable life insurance possible. He maintains access to every carrier out there. It is never beat on price or quality. I mean, how do you beat someone on price or quality when they have access to it all? Short answer, you don't. Many have tried and all have failed. Reach out to Ray Keller at 435-200-4869 or find him on Facebook at Independent Island Life Insurance. Once again, that number is 435-200-4869. Remember, with life insurance, you're either early or late. You're never on time.
Don't you guys think that'll be a great Father's Day gift, is getting life insurance?
As much as I would love to agree with you, and I love Ray Keller, what kind of message does that say? When you're like, oh, we bought you life insurance policy. Oh, okay.
No, it's for the mothers. It's for the mothers to buy themselves. Yeah, it's by themselves life insurance.
If they buy me life insurance and give it to me as a Father's Day gift, they're buying themselves a present for themselves.
Don't die soon.
Well, it's meant. Yeah, it's meant for that the mothers can buy it for themselves, so that if they do pass away, then it's a Father's Day gift for the fathers, right?
Go ask. Yeah, tell that to all the mothers out there. So, yeah. No, I mean, life insurance is a great thing. Timing is also a big thing as well.
Michael, you and your wife still do photography, right?
Yeah, we do it on and off, and only if people request photography, then we take photos.
Just my idea for you is, your father's a chef and you guys are enjoying this food, and you and Samantha have the talents for photography, capturing those moments with him and your daughters, as well as all of you as a family enjoying this food. Capture those moments, frame it, and make it something that lasts a long time.
So so you're saying that I'm gonna start making Mother's Day presents for my wife, basically.
That too.
On Father's Day.
Multitask.
On Father's Day. Okay.
I work smarter, not harder. So you make that life insurance policy wait.
There you go. You got to make everything in bulk and then just give it to them, divvy it out one after.
Fun fact.
You can make 5 years worth of Mother's Day.
Fun fact, guys. a woman, they tend to live longer than us men. So if you're out there and you need life insurance, now is the time. Very important. Hit up Ray Keller. He's the number one guy. Just to hook you up. And also remember, the longer you wait, the higher your rate is going to be a month. So, talk to him about that. See if we could get you a good deal, get you a good rate. So if you have any other questions, hit him up.
All right, fellas. Thank you about that. I know Father's Day is a very important day, especially to me. If I don't get a chance to in front of everyone so everybody sees it, I'm appreciative. To all of you gentlemen, happy Father's Day. Now, moving on, another topic we wanted to talk about were what are some of the nuances that us, and now, I'm strictly talking to people that live outside of home base, people, Polynesians, and specifically Polynesians that live outside of the home island, Samoa, Tonga, and stuff like that, Hawaii. And you guys live abroad, whether you're in the U.S. or you're in Australia or New Zealand. Well, New Zealand doesn't count, but like in Sweden or the U.K. What are some of those things that we do because of our culture that other people might find strange or weird? I think this is a good time for us to answer those questions. An example that I'm kind of leaning towards is like, for example, if you go to a lot of poly households, we don't wear shoes inside the house. We all take our shoes off at the door. Why do you think we do that? Any takers?
I don't think it's specifically to us, because I know a lot of Asian cultures do the same. But specifically for us,
there's quite actually more than
I mean, I know specifically for us, the reason why we do it is all about respect, and we don't want to dirty up the house. And it's about respect. I think that's the key word, is respect. Because I remember if I went over to my grandma's house in back home, and I was walking in with them shoes, first thing is either she would throw me with her lausalo, or she'll find something to throw at me. So that's one of those things. Is respect, because the idea is you're bringing the dirt and the grime and everything else from the outside world into the house, because a lot of us folks back home, we consider our house sacred. So when we bring in all that stuff, that's technically you're not respecting the holy, or I wouldn't say holy, but the sacredness of the house. I guess that's the way I was led to believe. So growing up, just removing your shoes shows a sign of respect, not only to the host or wherever you're going to, or fale in back home in American Samoa. So that's one of the biggest drivers of removing shoes, is just ultimately respect.
And remember how we don't want the dookies in the house when you take your dog for a walk or something. Remember, you don't want all those germs. Yeah, it's basically from a health and sanitation point of view, other than respect.
I always kind of speculated too that I can't speak for other cultures, obviously, but in Polynesian culture, we still largely it's not an uncommon thing that we largely sit on the floor, like in our house. The floor is not just for feet. There's a lot of households where that's still prominently the case, especially for kids. If there's only a few chairs, you better believe the kids aren't sitting on them. Like, that's for the adults. But and so, yeah, like keeping the floor clean becomes a little extra important when you consider that we're sitting on it quite a bit. It's not just for walking on.
What other cultures practice sitting on the floor with your legs crossed? Because I don't know of other people that do this. Because the Asians, they bend down, right? They don't cross their feet, though.
The Asians, you also have the Middle Eastern, the Indians.
They squat.
Indians do a lot of folding, especially the monks, Thai monks in Thailand. They do that. So, yeah, I mean, aside from them and us, that's the only folks that I know.
How about when y'all came stateside and you had people coming into your house trying to wear shoes? Any of y'all trip out, or even just going to other people's houses, coming stateside, and they're just walking around with shoes inside after you guys just played, I don't know, some tackle football out in the grass and mud?
I mean, I know when I first came stateside, I thought it was weird. Like I went over to a friend's house. They all lived in the same apartment complex, and he just walked right in through the front door with his shoes still on. Went and sat down on a couch, put his shoes up on the the armrest, kind of laid back, put his feet up. And I mean, I thought it was strange. Like, and I'm over there trying to like hurry up and take my shoes off, untie my shoes at the door, and then, but they were like, "Oh no, you're fine. It's okay." It was just, I don't know, it was just one of those things that we did. Kind of like why we have lava lavas as curtains. Are we afraid of drapes? Are we afraid of blinds? We have to have that Samoa lava in the curtains in the window.
So, like, I don't know if this is also if this is unique to me because I had a Afakasi. My dad is Palangi, and for my dad, he never really liked walking around without shoes. Like his feet just need that extra stability, and so growing up to this day, even everyone takes their shoes off but my dad. But my dad has his house shoes, so he has his outside shoes, but when he comes in the house, he kicks those off and he's got his shoes that he wears in the house. And he would be like the one of the few exceptions, but sometimes one of his friends would come over, people who don't understand the culture, and my mom would let it slide for them. And so it was kind of observed on and off depending on who the guest was. And it's funny because I was talking to one of my friends who I grew up with. He knew the rule: every time you come over, kick your shoes off, don't walk inside with your outside shoes. But in his adult years, he was passing through Payson, and he wanted to drop in on my parents and just look them up and say hi and whatnot. And my mom, as she saw him going to take his shoes off, she was like, no, don't worry about that. That's okay. Just leave them on. Which is, she's become a lot more lenient in her recent years. And it blew my friend's mind because he's like, oh man, I feel like I'm one of the special people now. Like I've been graced with this wonderful status now where I'm one of the few people your mom will allow to wear shoes in the house. I don't know if anybody else's parents are like that, where they observe it differently for different guests, but that's been a thing in my household.
So for me, another one for me was, I don't know if you guys understand, but what the word apafafano means.
Yeah.
The first time my friends saw that, they thought it was the weirdest thing. Where like after the grown-ups ate, like the old man, the old lady, they'll call one of the girls or the boys to go grab a apafano, and it's just a giant bowl with water and soap and in a paper towel, so they can rinse their hand and their mouth at the table, so they don't have to get up and they can continue gossiping about who did what and yada yada yada. But I remember my dad didn't do it as often, but every time there was Father Laves that happened and we were involved in that, there were a couple of people who were like, what are they doing? The kid shows up to the Palangi lady with the apafang and she's like, oh, what do you want me to do with this? I think that's another thing. It also probably ties in with respect.
Yeah, that's something I haven't seen in a while, is the apafafango. I remember in high school we used to rent from this old couple, and they happened to live with us in the same house. And we would always cook for them and at the same time do their fiaus. So after we ate lunch, dinner, after we ate, we would always get the apafango. And like Johnny said, it's when they're gossiping and they're chit-chatting and all the grown-ups, they're all talking and doing their thing, they don't want to get up and go wash their hands. So I think that's a very cool thing that the older generation practice. Nowadays it's died off. No one even knows about that respectful tradition that we honored. They probably still do that in Samoa, but here in the US it's probably something that's not even looked upon.
I still keep it alive.
So that's
every
You
now
do
and
that to
then.
your kids?
Every
You do
now,
that to your
every now
kids?
and then, yeah. So like, if we had a really big Thanksgiving dinner, especially during Father's Day, they feed me all this nice food, and I'm just like, okay, and then my wife would explain to the girls, here, take this big bowl to dad. And just to practice the tradition. I don't really make them do it on a regular basis, but every now and then I'll throw it out there as like a, hey, bonus trivia. You know what this is? You know, and then my girl's like, well, what's the point? And I'm like, well, it's, I don't know, but it's nice.
so
Makes me feel grown.
interestingly that you brought that up, because it all in our culture is all about servitude and respect. So growing up, that's the mainstay in our household. It was less in our household, but it was more like when you brought up Johnny. It was more when guests came into the house. That's when, bring out the apafango. And the reason why that was drilled into us was because, just servitude. One of those things where you have guests coming over, you don't want the guests to come, in the back of the kitchen where it's a mess. So, we're bringing the kitchen to them. We bring the apafango. Specifically it had, my mom's thing was it had to be at least a little bit lukewarm, not too hot. So, and then a little two drops of joy, or soap, dishwash, or whatever, and then just serve it with and the important thing is, if you're going to bring the apafango, you also had to bring the solo, so that way they could wipe their hands on. And this was more when in village council in the village, and there's like maybe 20 or 30 matais, and matais are all chiefs in the village that were gathered together, to make up the village council. In our village per se, we have a little bit over 25. So that's 25 matais with each of a apafango when they were done eating, for to a night. And interestingly, my parents were here. I brought them up from Hawaii. I wanted them to come over here to see Texas and experience the Texan El Paso life. So when my dad was here, I did my duty. I feel like that was my duty to my dad. He's a Matai in our family. And so, served them the apafango as soon as after he was done eating. And this was just like in the last April. So I wouldn't say is dead. I would say if you were practicing it, from a young age, I think it's instilled in you as a sign of respect and endearment to, as you grow up. So it's one of those things, like, hey, if you're learning this, do this. This is one of those things where it instills in you that service, to be respectful. But this is our culture. Like I would never do that if I wouldn't say I'll never, but if I served it to like did that to like a palangi or somebody else, they're like, hey man, they're kind of questioning you. But I mean, at the same time, hey, it's our culture. But if somebody looking in, I know it'll probably look weird, and like, hey man, you guys stick with that. But I think it's still going on, at least in my village of Sailete. It's still going on because back home, as long as there's a village council, as long as the Matai system is alive, the apafango is still there, and off into the future, it's still going to be there.
I have tried that in my household. It feels weird washing your hands in a bowl, so it doesn't work for me.
Look, this is actually a custom I did not grow up with. I wasn't familiar with this at all, but I'm happy I'm hearing this, because when I have kids, you better believe I'm bringing this back. Hey, we just ate a chicken dinner. Kids, go get me some. I don't want to get up to wash my hands. You can bring me that apafango.
Yeah, because even when back then, we didn't have a lot of utensils either. Everybody ate with their hands. So it's nice to have something rinse the fingertips off on. What are some other things that you see a lot that's common to Polynesian households? But
I wouldn't say it's really common, and actually it is common. The fa'umu, man, I've always wondered this, but where in the hell did we come up with the fa'umu, man? Like fa'umu is like, it's a staple in our culture, man. It's like fa'umu for celebration, fa'umu if your team won. Fa'umu is like, it's just, I don't know, like no other culture does this. I was trying to dig into like the history of it, like where the hell did fa'umu come from? And supposedly it's it's just a thing that happened when we were warriors back in the day. Just instilling that feeling of testosterone. Just try to get you ready up when we go fight. So that's probably. I mean, I don't know how accurate that is, but I'm thinking that might be the reason why Fa'aumu came to be. But so every household, every Samoan knows what the Fa'aumu is, and I think nowadays, a lot of the other outside folks looking in, they're like, hey, that's something nice. I know all the football teams out here or in the states are kind of getting into it, but I don't know what you guys think about. I don't know if that's common household, but that's one of the things that I'm very inquisitive on. I'm like, where the hell did Fa'aumu come from? But if you're wondering what Fa'aumu is, it's just a joy of excitement, the joy of like when I do the Fa'aumu, when I'm drinking, that's when the Fa'aumu becomes really loud, and and it's crazy because I hardly Fa'aumu, but when I start drinking, man, the Fa'aumu comes out like crazy, and it's just I've been told that it's louder and when I'm a little tipsy, but I haven't drank in a while, so I haven't done the Fa'aumu in a while. So for all you folks out there that don't know, or our listeners are listening in, don't know what the Fa'aumu is, you hear like a loud Samoan or a Samoan doing a loud howl, that's a Fa'aumu, at any event that you're at. So I don't know if that's a topic for discussion, fellas, but what's a Fa'aumu,
We probably got it from the same place where we got that cackling laugh that everybody does when they're really into it. It sound like a pack of wild hyenas. It's just really high pitched.
Johnny, can you give us an example?
And if I follow, no. See, that's a normal laugh. I have a very normal laugh. But yeah, maybe get a few drinks in me and you'll hear the little. But I think we all know what I'm talking about, that common high-pitched cackling laugh that comes out of nowhere. And everybody enjoys it the same way. It's probably where we got the Fa'aumu from, too.
That's why I mute myself every time. I don't want you guys to hear my laugh.
So I learned my lesson, one of our episodes, a while back where we had to Fa'aumu,
It was last week.
Yeah, was it last week? So my wife was sleeping when we were recording, and I did that, the chihu, and it was pretty loud in our house. So she woke up thinking that something happened, like someone broke in the house or something. And then she came down, about to fight me because it was so loud. So I am never gonna Fa'aumu on our podcast because we record late.
You just got to give her a presentation like, this is happy chihu, this is emergency chihu, this is sad chihu.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking when I went chihu, and it was pretty loud.
I actually think it's awesome that she heard it. She's like, "Oh, that's the war chant one. We got someone broke in, so she was all geared up, ready to fight.
Like,
false alarm. She's now fighting you." So,
yeah, I think we're one or too many chihus to the cackling laugh.
It's a great celebration though. When you attend graduations, you can tell the polys when you hear the Fa'aumu. And you kind of feel that sense of pride when you hear it. So it's a great way to celebrate our people. It's very unique, loud and unique.
Well, one thing I really like about it right now is it's not really a custom that's really been co-opted yet. We see lots of people getting Polynesian tatau just because they like the design. Cool, whatever. Lots of people are co-opting, doing the lays like we've talked about before. Cool. But I typically do not hear a chihu from anybody who's not Polynesian. It's almost like, oh no, I'm not really in on that. I don't understand it. And so for the most part, I haven't seen other races or cultures like really dig into that, which not that I'd have any issue if they did, but I kind of enjoy the fact that if I hear that, that's like, just signaling to everybody, hey, we're in here. I mean, I've known if there were other polys in the area, but I just heard that, and so now I know there are. It's just like Wonder Twins activate. It's
like the same as how the Mexicans in their music, they do that little
Yeah.
wah thing that it's become synonymous with that specific ethnic group. And
I was just about to say,
you hear a lot of
same thing with Spence. Like if I'm somewhere and I hear that Chihu, man, I know there's some polys in here, and I feel kind of good, like, I'm not the only one that's here, and I know that if I get into something, all the Usos or or the thing is, they're gonna hop in. But in Virginia, I think I only had met one other Uso out in Virginia, and it was I think it was a bar close by Camp Johnson over there. Camp Johnson by Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. So we were there for I think FMTB back in 2012, no 2009, 10. So I was in there with a bunch of Palangi. And then we were dancing. And I hear out of nowhere, man, Chihu. I was like, looking back, I was like, oh shit, okay. And then, me and him, we got to it, and, we kind of understood the lingo. Like, if you're saying Chihu and something going down, we know what's going to happen. So that was like what you said, Spence, like, hey, as soon as that Chihu is known, just us, our culture, that's like our call sign is the Fa'omor, the Chihu. And Milford, man, you hit it right on the head, man. We need to have an episode where, where's the happy Chihu and the sad Chihu and the Fiapala Chihu. But yeah, man.
I think we can do that episode in an actual studio where it's soundproof. Yeah.
Like I said, I have a lower octave, so it tends to crack when I try to reach that note. It's not a pretty sight.
Yeah, I got the same issue. I gotta practice more. Sometimes I'd be like in my car driving, hopefully nobody's looking through the window and think I'm making like a TikTok or something like that. but yeah, for real, it really is like the Samoan version of Avengers Assemble. You're calling to everyone in the area, hey, back me up.
Well, I know here's something that Spence brought up, another thing that it's pretty common, or at least I used to see it commonly. So growing up in Samoa, PDA wasn't really a big thing. It was considered like shameful and stuff like that. It was kind of, your relationship status was always kept on the DL until it wasn't. And like I remember seeing a meme about, it's funny how poly guys and girls, first you're hanging out, you meet this poly chick and you're hanging out, laughing, cracking up, having a good old time. Next thing you know, you're dating. There's never a courting period. It's just you keep laughing and joking around until you're dating. So, I mean, is that something that was always something because it was considered, and I think it makes it sound bad because like it's always frowned upon in the general Polynesian community to show PDA or public displays of affection to where people are sneaking around until it becomes common knowledge, and then they are finally out and say, hey, we're dating or we're pregnant, time to get married. I don't know if that was the same with everybody else across the board.
You hit it right on the nail there, Johnny. I know a lot of Usos, man. I know a lot of Soles. They start off with, hey sis, and then all of a sudden, man, hey sis, and then they're like boyfriend and girlfriend the next day, and then start off like that. I know a lot of the Usos out there, like hey sis, But anyhow, growing up, man, there's a lot of that, back home, and at least for my personal experience, it's, man, everything in our culture is all respect, man. So I think it comes down to that. Ultimately, is respect. We don't want to show especially the parents. My parents. I've never seen aside from a while back in Mother's Day, but I never really seen them growing up. Showing kissing or at least holding hand. I mean, one of those tough love type things. But especially in high school, we call it kalaukiki, sneaking off, doing whatever, and then all of a sudden, they were boyfriend and girlfriend, and then it's just weird. When I came out here, it was just like a lot of it, and seeing it on TV, and I used somebody would close my eyes and stuff like that, but coming out here and then seeing that affection and being publicly displayed, and just I feel kind of weird because I've never seen or kind of felt that growing up. So um, it's just one of those things where, man, it just comes down to ultimately that's where I place it at. Is just respect, I guess, for and that's the other thing too. Like a lot of our culture, we don't want people be talking, so we don't show that love because hey, people are gonna go talk. Oh, ay mailenga, they just kissed, under the bridge, or hey, whatever they were holding hands. Or I guess that's the reason why too. Show it is because we don't want people to gossip. Trying to. But the thing is, back home, nothing is private, man. Everything is out in the open. So as soon as Lafayette talks about it on the other side of the village, man, the other side is going to know in like 2 minutes. So that's the craziest thing. But yeah, it's weird.
So talking about sneaking away, let's talk about the PDA that gets caught at church. And the biggest difference between us and, the non-Polynesian culture churches, if you grow up in the Samoan ward, you get caught, you get beat publicly as well. Public display, the laying on of hands, you get those blessings in front of everyone. So of course, you don't see it as much nowadays, but man, if we go back 20 years.
Dang, man, 20 years?
All the people that got caught, during seminary or during whatever, during the week mutual, sneaking away, get caught, and either sometimes get sasa in front of everybody, get fussy, or they do it in the room with just both sets of parents. Yeah, good old times.
Just from experience, I was always a good kid every time I went everywhere.
I knew not to get caught.
Yeah, propriety was like my middle name.
Can't get caught if you don't have a girlfriend.
Hey, I relate to that one. Actually, like this always cracked me up because that carried over to like you guys were saying, it's not just who you know in your personal life. That translated over to TV shows or movies we're watching. People were kissing on screen. My mom's like, "Hey, look at the floor. Hey, look away. Close your eyes." Like we very taboo to see people kissing like in public, even in a movie setting. It's like if y'all remember Laughing Samoans, the comedy duo, like that was always one of my favorite bits, is where he's explaining to his non-Polynesian wife like why he doesn't take her places, or why she's like mad because it's like, you don't kiss me or you don't do this. He's like, you don't understand, we don't do that, like that's not in our culture. He says, like, for example, when we go for sample so when we go to your friend's wedding, the bride and the groom, when they were told you can now kiss, he's like, they were kissing like they were going for the world record. He's like, that would never happen. That would never happen in my culture. So I just always love how I put that. But it's true, though. It's a taboo.
I still have a hard time dealing with that issue, being, displaying it in public, because my wife, she can't keep her hands off me, because I'm too handsome. At Walmart, going shopping, she's like, hold my hand. I'm like, babe, say, come on. When we're in a car, I'm like, babe, no. And we're like out in public events, even at church, she can't keep her hands off me. I'm like, man, come on. I'm not used to this kind of stuff. I grow up, people tease you with this kind of stuff, and adults, they smack you on the side of the head if you do PDA in front of them. So it's at 10 years, and I'm still dealing with the issue of being affectionate in public, because I can't. It's a hard habit to break, not being affectionate, because there's two standards. My wife, she likes to be affectionate out in public, but for me, I'm totally the opposite. Like I do not want to hold anyone's hands.
It's the love language thing.
Yeah, it's a love language. We're totally on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah, and she gets on my case on that, and to her, she's not feeling that affectionate part when I reject her out in public, especially when it comes to holding hands. Something as simple as holding hands. It's still, to me, to this day, it's hard. Yeah, I hold her hand out in public, but I'm still like, it's almost like my hand is stiff and I'm cringing. I'm like, oh, let go already. So it's very hard. Growing up as a Samoan, this stigma still stuck in your head not to show the public display of affection in front of people. But this reminds me of when I was going to the mall and I see 10-year-olds like all over each other on the bench. Like here in America, man, it's crazy. You see it in the parking lot outside at Costco or Walmart. Also, adults just going at it in the parking lot. So it's a whole different thing, here in America.
Define going at it.
Slobbering and like, just, kissing.
Well, recently when I went to Samoa, I'm starting to see it a lot more commonly. Because back then it didn't, you couldn't tell who's dating. And now I remember my last visit, I saw a couple sitting at the bus stop, holding hands and, pecks here and there. And the old lady sit right next to them waiting for the bus. So it's changed a lot. I would say with each generation coming through, a few things are added and a few things are taken away. So, I mean, we started this whole thing making it sound like, and it sounded like exactly what it was, service through respect. And now it's starting to sound like trauma.
So, one of the interesting things,
it is trauma.
Just recently, me and my lady just start calling each other hun, short for honey. And I call her my sister, but she's my first cousin. So she's been staying with us for a couple months. She's back in Hawaii, but she'll be back here. But she overheard me.
Can you clarify? Can you clarify?
You gotta clarify.
Not your wife, right?
Huh? What was that?
Is to clarify that the person you're describing is separate from your wife, because those two were immediately linked that your wife is your first cousin.
No, my bad, man. I think I broke up. No, so so me and my wife, we started calling each other hun, short for honey. So my first cousin, I call her my sister. So she overheard us calling
punctuation.
Huh?
Said punctuation is key.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay. So she overheard us calling each other honey or hun. So she's like, what the F? I've never heard any Samoans start calling each other honey until or in her, because me and her are the same age. So she's, just goes to show that, even with her, she's never seen, heard her parents, or at least, family, in Cali, because she was born in Cali, raised in Cali, and she, growing up in Cali, she's never heard any of her, her family in Cali, calling each other honey. So she was like, "What the hell?" She was like, she was kind of shocked. Like, I've never heard any Samoans calling, especially in our line, calling each other honey. So it kind of goes to show how, it's not we're not only affected by this, like almost every other Samoan, distinctively, it's kind of like it's the same deal. So I mean, even now saying honey or hun to my lady right now, it feels kind of weird to me, because I've never heard my parents saying it. Even with the holding hands, like Tan was saying, man, you're gonna have to shoot me if you caught me holding hands with a Kenge back in the day, man. Because I think that was one of the things too. Like, we were so competitive back in the day. Like, we kind of see, how many girls you trying to get? So you trying to make it not known that you were, you had one girl. So, you trying to be, macho and whatever. So I guess that's one of the things too. Like, just you don't want to show her that you're lovey dovey, you know. So that was one of the things too. So, but it's interesting, man, that my cousin was kind of like, oh man, I'm what the f what you say? I was like, honey, I'm like, what? That's only for old folks. And I was like, well, hey, you learn something and then you try to go with it. So, and it comes down to the love language, you know. So I feel like I'm a words of affection type of guy now. You know, I gotta really explain to my lady, hey, this is how this should be done, and this is how you should, do this and this. And then I think gifts is my third one. I don't really like. I'm not a gift type of guy. So, but that's the first thing is, words of affection, and then the second one for me is physical touch. Yeah. So I don't want to get into it, but those are my love languages. I don't know about you guys.
Now I'm very curious. What do you call your wife? Because I call my wife Babe. Or do you call her by her name or?
Just hun, or sometimes babe, depending on the situation.
I usually use Your Highness or My Liege. Oui.
Yeah, someone's trying to score points here.
Really trying to get those. So I've been eyeballing these high toe, tailor-made high toe wedges, 52, 56, 60. That's high toe, as in like the foot. High toe, tailor-made wedges, milled steel, stiff. Please. No. I just use Babe. I'm pretty simple. Babe, or I use her entire name. It's a good indicator of my moods. Use her whole name when I'm really trying to stress a point, and then Babe for everything else. So, what do you use, T?
I don't give away the keys to the game, player.
Hey, call it what it is, boy.
T's here, all quiet. You're kind of cheating, T. You're cheating here.
You're definitely a pumpkin guy. I'm pretty pumpkin schnookums. Schnookums.
Yeah, A, B, C, D, all of the above.
If I could rewrite the alphabet, I'd put you and I together.
Yeah. No, I'm just simple with Babe.
I still find myself when I walk in front of people, I kind of bend my head down, and you know how in Samoa culture you have to say "excuse me" or "too low" when you walk in front of people.
Good one.
I still, when I walk in front of people here in America, I find myself like bending down, like trying not to obstruct their view, and say "excuse me." And if I know it's Samoan, I would actually say "too low." But it's a habit, me bending down for people, trying not to get in their way when I walk in front of them. Do you guys find yourself in that situation?
Yes.
Always.
In fact, like just yesterday, I went with some friends to that new Transformers movie, and I had to get up and go use the restroom. And as I'm walking out, like, look, I'm tall, but I'm not so tall that I'm going to be like casting a shadow on the screen as I walk by, but I still put my head down. If somebody makes eye contact with me, or if it feels like they're looking at me as I'm walking by, I'm like, excuse me. Like, yeah, 100%. Like, it feels extremely rude if I walk between people that are talking, or just in front of somebody who sat down or something like that. I still 100% have that. I got in big trouble if I didn't.
I know that was actually a really good one, because I've had one of my friends had asked me, this was a while back, we were at like some sort of event, and it was just a whole bunch of people, and we were sitting at the front, and I needed to get something from over here, or sorry, I'm pointing, but like, say I was right here in the front and I needed to get something from over here. I had gotten up and walked behind everybody else, took the longest way around just to come up to the side of them, nudge them, grab it, and walk all the way behind. And one of my friends had asked me, I was like, why didn't you just go right there? And I was like, I don't know. It's programmed. It's just rude to walk in front of people. And I didn't want to I'd rather just, instead of having to be all bashful and shy and try to excuse myself as I cross in front of their path, I just went around. It was just easier. And I still do it now to this day. Even, walking in front, if I see a lot of people, it's like, excuse me. And if they are someone, I would bow and I'm just kidding. I just say tudo.
Yeah, I'm feeling comfortable walking in between people without, mid-conversation and not excusing myself. Part of it from being raised that way, and just another part, like I don't want your attention. If I somehow, I don't know, interrupt. And then it takes me back to 5th grade. I had this one classmate. He was Terrence. He was black. And the reason why I say he was black, because every time he walked in between people, I liked the way he did it. He'd say, "Excuse the brother." Every time he was going in between. And that's something that always stuck with me. I thought it was pretty cool. I was like, hey, we're one and the same, sort of. But yeah.
So, man, it's the norms in our culture, So the way that it was reinforced to me was through the fasi. So every time I would pass by or walk in front of a elder back home, and I don't say too low, it was either my mom whooping me or one of my uncles or Matthias will be whooping my butt, man. It's just one of those reinforcement things. Every time you step, it's a norm, it's a respect, is show the affection and the kindness that it also shows that you were taught, because in our culture, whatever reflection that you put out there in our culture is a direct reflection of your parents. So if you don't say too low back home, I longa ngao iya nga kamagiki, that kid, man, I don't know if the parents was teaching them right, So it's one of those things, growing up. Even till this day, I'm saying too low in front of like people I don't even know, in front of the bus stop, at the mall, even, on the golf course, man. I'm like, stepping over a line. I'm like, hey, excuse me, man. And I'm stepping over somebody's line, their, golf etiquette or golf terminology. But anyhow, it's just one of those things, just the norms of our culture, because ultimately it all boils down to respect.
You know the place that I noticed growing up that was enforced was in the churches. It's supposed to be the house of God, but you see kids being whooped when they don't, say too low or excuse me. So that's my observation is from all the aongamia growing up. You see in the churches, when kids run by and they don't say anything.
And what's interesting too? Sorry, my bad, Johnny. What's interesting too?
No, go ahead.
Is the funny thing is not only that where we have to say it physically if we're doing something like we got to pass through in front of somebody. It's also when we're speaking. It's like tulole. Like we say, excuse me. Like if you translate it to English, it sounds weird, but in our culture, we say excuse me, and if you're about to say something, that's kind of offensive, we say too low. Or if you're speaking in public, especially a Matai speaking in public, and they want to say excuse me to all the listeners, we're actually like not physically doing it, but we're like in our speech, we're using too low. So that's kind of like the interesting thing, like, man, this is like the way our culture is diverse and everything is broken down is all respect. Like hearing it, them speaking before they say something funny or say something that's going to be offensive or saying something that's going to be defense or, whatever. It's in speech. They actually got to say too low, as you're talking, making a speech. So that's one of the interesting things. So thought I want to add that in there.
It also teaches humility because sometimes if when you're trying to aim too high, you got to make sure that you always come back down. So too low. Can't be too high, too low.
This guy thinks so. He's funny.
Hey, bringing in the puns is a good way to get people to remember it.
Dad joke for Father's Day.
Yeah, for real. I just wanted to point out one more thing too, because as we're talking about this, I realized something that this custom that we grew up with is actually something that probably served us well once we crossed over into the military land, because this is the other subculture that we're a part of where this is also the case. Like, something as simple as like you go into a formation. If you get called to come to the front of the formation, you don't just break ranks and walk right up, step back, left, right, face. If you're in the center platoon, you better make sure you don't just cut between the platoons and go straight up front. You walk to the back, circle around, and you enter from the side. So you do not just cut off a formation. If you got somebody getting yelled at by a drill sergeant or whatever, you don't walk between them. If you do, you're a part of it's now your problem too. So I just want to say that that's another culture that we're also a part of, that this custom probably served us well learning it growing up, because it wasn't something new to us when we got there. But anybody else want to talk about too low, too high? All right, so I just want to bring back a recap. So this was a fun episode. Of course, we talked about Father's Day, what it means to us, what it's meant to us as fathers, meaning you guys, and what it's meant to us as sons of fathers. And that's been a nice thing to reflect on. Also, we got to talk about some nuances in Polynesian culture. Always something fun to look back and reflect on, especially given our diverse backgrounds on where we grew up and how entrenched in the culture we were. It's neat to see the things that are constants, throughout, or some of the things where it's just different. So I definitely get a lot from that. And I learned that, there's even some customs that I'm not completely on that I sound really cool. I want to bring back. But also, we got to learn about, amazing deals from Ray Keller, who's bringing a valuable service at an affordable price. We're very grateful for him, not just for being a sponsor of this podcast, but for also providing a valuable service to people in our community. And of course, always with the Matai watches, because, they have many purposes, mainly tell you the time while telling everybody else where you come from. And so we're very grateful for their continued support, and we love being able to support them right back and help them in their mission plan to get their fine product out to our people. So thank you everybody for tuning in. That's a good recap, if I do say so myself. Johnny, pass it back to you.
That was amazing recap. Thank you, Spencer. Thank you very much. And thank you, gentlemen. It's always a pleasure and an honor, to get together and make these little snippets and share our experiences and pull our knowledge and figure out who's more wrong than the other person and who's the most rightest of them all, Mr. Johnny Suolevai. So I am grateful for another opportunity to continue to do this, and hopefully that we... Ati's over here sweating out in El Paso in his garage. So, I mean, we could always use donations for some a space cooler for our friend, our brother. But yeah, so thanks again for tuning in. My name is Johnny Suolevai, and this is Behind the Lava Lava. We'll catch you on the next one.